So what makes a good story? Well, I'm going to start by saying Twilight is a good story. Now, don't leave just yet and dislike. I'm not a fangirl about this. I'm a writer. I'm an author. And someone comes up to me and says, do you want to be a vampire, live forever, and get to have sex forever with someone? I'd be like, yeah, of course I love the idea of immortality. Of course I love the idea of super strength. And of course I love the idea of boning sexy vampires. But the story itself wasn't told in a way that which I can engage with it, but I like what the story is. Sometimes the dialogue is not perfect, sometimes the prose is a bit not to my liking, but does that necessarily detract from anyone else's enjoyment from it? Does that necessarily detract if I say, I hate Twilight? Does that then make Twilight bad? It's a popular story. I think if we look at it as a story, Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey, and other books that we don't necessarily like and get on with, we can then see that they're not actually bad novels. I think the essence of a good story, the pure, brilliant essence of a story, is able to reach into a human head, just go, rah, or, you know, Kalimar it, like, rah, take the heart out of a human being and show it. I think fiction, it's never about making someone believe it's real. It's making someone believe the emotions in it are real, that the imagination in it is real. Fiction is it has no consequence. If Bruce Willis shoots Guga, or whatever his name is, in the face, it doesn't mean someone gets shot in the face in real life because of it. Fiction operates in a vacuum of imagination, where the only effect is really in the head of someone who watches it. Its creation has an effect. Yeah, Bruce Willis gets a job, and, you know, a stunt guy gets to go through with Bruce Willis about how to shoot someone in the head, and at the end they make a bunch of money off cinema tickets, DVD sales, and someone watches that film and might be inspired not to shoot someone in the head, but to write another film, or might just have a couple of entertaining hours killed. But fiction is, you never write fiction to create a real world. It's creating a imaginatively and emotionally alive world. It's about, you know, why are some of the best stories, the most popular stories, animated? You know, Toy Story, you got Pixar films. A robot that cleans up trash on planet Earth that's just basically abandoned is not real. Toys don't come alive. But everything that's in there that they have is real. Friendships between the toys, the actual states in which the characters are. You've got Buzz realising slowly that he is a toy. You've got Woody having his position threatened by this new person, and we can relate to that. And then you've got Wally, who's kind of infatuated and interested by Eve. And they're robots, and yet they made me cry. And How to Train Your Dragon. Dragons aren't real, Vikings aren't real anymore, and still it made me cry. Still it felt real, even though I knew I was watching a cinema screen, and I could look away and see the person I'm watching with. I can eat popcorn. That was real. But what was happening on the screen was emotionally real, imaginatively real, and the best stories are not things that operate in real physics, in reality. Your character's not always going to be someone who is a human being. They're exacerbated ideas of characters. Their traits put in places and exacerbated to no end because it's showing the emotional and imaginative truth to something. Animated films are blank until you put something in it. You fill it through of imagination, but the technical aspect of getting the colours right, getting the movements right, having things look and sound as you would expect something that's not real to move. How does a toy move? How do you program that? And the essence of a good story relies heavily on being emotionally real and expressing and displaying something that's emotionally real and exploring the imagination, but doing it in such a way that we can allow ourselves to follow it. You give it a narrative and you don't make it jutter, you don't make it look crap, you make it look real, even artistically real. A Toy Story, you buy the house and the adults and the children, and you buy this is how toys look, but nothing in real life looks like that. Nothing is bright and colourful, and they don't look like that. It looks kind of like that, but it isn't that. The best stories are the ones that come from real truths in life, about love. Twilight doesn't exist in real life. The story does. The love that two people can have exists. Infatuation with young couples exists. Dilemmas and love triangles exist. Worries about the future exist. Vampires and werewolves don't. So fiction is never, the good story is never trying to replicate real life. It takes it and it exacerbates it. It distorts it and grotesques it until what you have left is the pure emotion of it. The pure idea of what it means to be in love. The pure idea of what it means to be in friendship. The pure idea of what it means to be in fear. And takes and can put it into something that's not real and have us 100% believe it's emotionally real. At the end of the day, you go, that film was amazing, it made me cry. It made me feel really tense. You know, I watched Inception, and towards the end, as they were going through dream levels, I was like, oh! You know, I was holding my gut, and I felt more tense than I've ever felt during a film in my entire life. And I was like, oh, go on Leo, Leo! And, but I walked out and said it was a great film. I can read a story, and I can cry, and I can be followed for it, but at the end of the day I say it was a good story. I never say that was good real life. Fiction, the art of storytelling, it is, if you want to put it cynically, it is about getting all the truths in the world that you want to show. About getting the real essence of being a human, the real essence of friendship, of love, and of all that, and wrapping it in a huge lie. Because I think that's the best way to explore these emotions, to explore these feelings, to explore ideas, is by taking away the social graces we have in communication with other people. It's taking away societal restraints that we think we have. Which is why when we go to the cinema or read a story, within half an hour we can be rooting for someone and go, yeah, go Bruce Willis, shoot that fucker in the head now. And in half an hour with a normal person in conversation, I'm not going to go, yeah, shoot that fucker. I'll be like, no, don't shoot that fucker. And it can take ages to strike a real friendship, but the best friendships are the ones where you lay bare to someone. You give them your hopes, you give them the dreams, you give them your love and your care and your thoughts and your brain and you. And those are what they're built on. And fiction gets away with the small talk. It doesn't say you're going to have 10 minutes of this character's pretending to be normal. No, it shows you the character soul. It shows you the essence of a human being. It shows you the essence of a drama. It shows you the essence, the core of whatever it is it's playing with, and it throws that at your face. And then that gets to your emotions. It's not about making real life. It's about getting real life. Getting rid of all the things that stop us from feeling, that stop us from thinking, that stop us from being inspired, that stop us from connecting and emoting and letting us do it. And saying, you are going to cry about this fucking dragon, you're going to cry about this fucking Viking, you're going to cry about Buzz fucking Lightyear, you're going to cry at the end when Andy gives his toys away, you're going to cry when Wall-E and Eve are in space with fire extinguished, you are going to fucking cry and you're going to fucking like it and you're going to... That went a bit weird, but that's what storytelling is all about. It is not about making sure your dialogue's perfect. It's not about making sure you avoid cliches. It's not about making sure your characters act real. It's about making sure the emotions and the imagination are real. And forget perfectly worded sentences. Forget perfectly paced structure. Forget the 3-act structure for 1 second and ask yourself, does my story have an emotion? Does it have a soul? And that's what you write for. That's what you read for. That's why you watch a film for. That's the essence of a good story. That's the art of storytelling, which I think can be lost nowadays. Because people like me even do videos on how to write characters. And it's always good to have a knowledge of craft. It's always good to have knowledge of technicality and fictional cause and effect. Because again, what happens in a film doesn't change anything that happens in real life. They're separate things. When you watch a film, it doesn't mean something in real life's happened. To some degree anyway, but the film has no bearing on anything. It's what happens in your head and what you choose to do that has a bearing on anything. So fiction is without reality, but it is the core reality of human experience. That's why films and stories can delve into what it really means to be human, more so than a human being standing there, more so than any event in human history. And you may say, wow, World War II showed us this, or this event shows us this. But there's going to be a generation ahead of us who weren't living in a time when that was happening. My experience of World War II comes from, yes, historical documentaries, but also from film and stories, and how it's explored in mediums, given fictitious artistic license to strip away some of the reality of it that gets in the way of understanding the core of it. It strips away the clothing, as it were, and bears what was really happening, what the real thing of it was. So, when I do a video on how to write characters, how to write plot twists, how to write this, I am trying to talk as a technical writer. I'm trying to talk as a craft. I'm trying to give you ideas on what you can do with people, because the more you know what you can do with something, the more you can explore. And you always have to take the decision to give the emotional and imaginative truth of the story. You never have to pick something because you think it's better to do, because it's more professional than it's more emotional. You can have hammy dialogue, you can have cliche characters. It works. You can still enjoy a story with it. I watched Under the Skin and How to Train Your Dragon 2, and you know, those are the last two films I watched, and I still follow both of them, and they're completely different stories, told in completely different ways. Exposition is handled differently, dialogue is handled differently, messages and themes and feelings are handled and shown differently, but I can still love each of those stories. There is not one best way to go about it. It just has a certain effect. It just does a certain thing. All your decisions in writing have to be getting at the core emotional truth. Because the art of storytelling and the best stories are not written cynically. They're not written because the dialogue was perfect, because the characters act the way we think characters should. They act within an emotional truth. And the pursuit in fiction should never be to replicate Earth, to replicate humanity. It should be to strip Earth down to its core, to strip humanity down to its core, to strip human thought and feeling and emotion and all our experiences and get them as if they're just a massive ball like that, like a gobstopper or something with a chewy centre. You eat into it and you get to the middle, and that's what you use. You don't use the fluff. You don't think, oh, I gotta make my person seem human, so let's have a scene of him eating breakfast and whatnot. Or just get to the emotional truth. At the end of the day, a story shows us who we are more than anything. Shows us our thoughts, our feelings. I love story. I love film. I love fucking books. I love fucking TV show. Well, not literally, you know, getting the DVD box set and banging it, but what fiction can do, the beauty that's in it, the things that we can explore and tell ourselves, show others, the things we can learn about ourselves. If we just take away whatever barrier we use in our lives, people beautiful, unique, and sometimes we don't know that about ourselves, so we put barriers, we put levels of ideas. We think we should be like this, and we have these barriers between ourselves, between us and our actual self. And we have put barriers between us and our dreams, us and our ideas, and we think we can't get it, or we think it's not meant to be, or we're not whatever we are. And sometimes what I love about fiction is that it shows us what happens when you put the barriers down and there's no barrier. And it shows us, whoever's reading this, whoever's watching this, this is friendship, this is love. This is what happens when two friends are on a quest, like Lord of the Rings. Even though there's been loads of Lord of the Rings sort of copycats and clones, there still stands one Lord of the Rings. Even though there's many stories kind of like Harry Potter in a way, there's only one Harry Potter. Even though there's loads of vampire, werewolf, human romances, there's only one Twilight. There's only one 50 Shades of Grey. There's only one Fault in Our Stars. Why is that? Because they're the stories that got to the emotional truth of it. They got to the imaginative truth of it. That don't follow convention and have their characters be unique and different. The reason why we still talk about Edward, Bella and Jacob is because they're different than all the other bloody characters that inhabit a similar universe. The reason why we talk about Augustus and, I forgot her name already, is because they're the only ones like them. And different characters give us a different conversation. Lord of the Rings gave us a conversation on friendship and war, gave us an emotional and imaginative exploration of all these things. Of even the smallest of people can triumph the greatest of good. And that was in it all the way through. It was written with that emotional, passionate, imaginative truth. And that's the art of good storytelling, is when you write with a passion, an emotional truth, and you say, fuck you, clever ass fucking grammar. Fuck you, what everyone tells me I should fucking do. That's the truth. Is when you write the truth, love in your heart, for the very thing that is in it. So what makes a good story? It's not following the 3-act structure perfectly. It's not about writing characters in this perfect arbitrary way, because characters have changed over time. The action hero has changed since Bruce Willis, and it's more Liam Neeson kind of now. Love stories have changed since Pearl Harbor, Titanic, and the other one, I can't remember it. And now we had Twilight, and now we've got Fault in Our Stars. What made a good character then does not make a good character now, but an exploration of truth. Trends don't exist at all. It's just once every so now and then a story comes along that's written with a passion, a love and a truth about humanity that we can't ignore, regardless of genre. I reckon 10 years from now you can have a cowboy bestseller. If someone just writes a story with cowboys that they wanted to write, you can have a sci-fi bestseller. It's never genre. It's always the story hits something. It gets that balance just right. It gets to us just right. And that kind of story will not stay below all the other stories. When that story is found and that story ignites and that story starts, it goes up. That's my rant, I guess, on what makes a beautiful, great story. The essence of a good story. Why, if a story hits the emotional truth, even if you yourself don't enjoy the film, don't enjoy the story, it doesn't make it a crap story, and it doesn't take away from what other people take away from it. On the essence, when you boil it down to what it really is saying, forget about Edward Cullen, forget about Augustus, forget about whatever the hell character or thing you don't like about the next great story is. When it comes down to what it is, and what it explores, and what it says, and what it does, and what it stands for, you know that makes a good story. and you know you would watch it. Perhaps if something changed. Perhaps if it wasn't about vampires, or it was differently written, or it was more sci-fi because you get on with more of a one certain genre than another. But you can't tell me that on the essence love stories are crap. And you can't tell me fantasy in its essence is crap. You can't tell me that sci-fi in its essence is crap. Or horror is terrible. So I've been Procrastinating Writer, celebrating 100 subscribers, and I thank you for getting all the way through this video. If you already subscribed to me, you don't need to subscribe again. Just give me a like and a comment. Let me know what you think of everything, and please have your say as well. And if you're new to here and you got all this way, then why not subscribe? It would mean a lot. It would just be great. To be honest, you don't have to do it. You can do it if you want. Because I plan on making passionate videos. They won't be every day, maybe not even weekly, maybe just fortnightly as this one is. But I hope if you liked what I say now, then you're going to like what I say in the future. This is not a cynical, your character has to do this and your dialogue has to do that. I know sometimes it can come across as that, but honestly, it's trying to explore what makes it good. And as a writer, when you write, as a storyteller, when you're telling a story, when you're going through it and you're getting better and better and better, you're constantly asking yourself, how do I make a story better? How do I write better? And that runs you down certain paths and certain ideas and certain thoughts, and you gain some knowledge and you get to learn. When you learn how to do this, or when you have a character like this, or you have an idea like this, what's the best way to explore it? What's the best way to get through this? What's the best way to increase tension? You end up coming up with tricks, tips, techniques. And this is unscripted. Just like my old videos. And I'm quite happy I got 100 subscribers. It's great. I don't see many successful and high subbed and high viewed writing channels that don't make up their content from interviews with bestseller writers and famous writers. I think I'm going to continue doing this for you lot and for myself as well, and we learn from each other, and hopefully I inspire you, entertain you, you learn from me and I learn from you, and together we can build a channel and a community that when people find it, they learn, where this journey we show it's gone through with many people, and people know the journey is not solely the scariest thing in the world, because everyone goes through it, I think. And I think the most important thing in writing in such a lonely pursuit is to know you're not the only person that's gone through it. And it's so easy for other people, like myself included, to give off the impression that we know everything, that this is character, that this is dialogue, that this is a good story, that this is how do you write it. But in essence we don't, because we need the freedom, we need the emotional freedom, the imaginative freedom, the creative freedom to explore how to tell stories. That's what makes stories brilliant, fantastic, and gets us involved in them, is when someone is allowed to release their emotions and their imagination without fear. And I think one way we can do that is by not placing many arbitrary reasons between us and what we do, because that will give us writer's block. That will stop us enjoying our writing if we think it has to hit a certain level of professionalism, craftsmanship with words, like our vocabulary and all that. I'm guilty of it. I am. I admit that. So now, if it's still running, I will end up just trying new things in my videos. to speak of their honest passion, opinion, and I want to give advice to help, and I want to inspire. And this was meant to be a goodbye, but it kind of went on for a very long time. But I think 100 subscribers is a big landmark for me. It's 100 people potentially interested in what I've said. It's 100 people I could potentially help. That's not as high a number as 1 million subscribers, or 1 million views on a video. I don't think this video would. I don't think I'll ever reach 1 million views unless I pay for it. That's not the goal. The goal is not arbitrarily to get people to sit throughout the entire length of the video by manipulation, by editing. And it isn't about trying to get as many subscribers and likes as possible. You have a choice to subscribe to me. You have a choice to listen to what I say. This is me sharing my journey of being a writer, sharing my thoughts and my ideas with other people. It's self-expression. Same reason why I write stories to begin with. Self-expression. And that's what I've chosen to do. And some people ask me, why do I do it? Why do I bother going on YouTube and doing videos? Self-expression. And I honestly think that this was a good video. I'm going to be proud of this video. More so than maybe a more scripted approach to it. Because I don't think I do scripted very well. Let me know what you thought of this video. Share it around if you want. It's probably going to be very long because I think it would work longer, to be honest. I don't think keeping it 3 minutes would be the best idea in the world, because get what you want from the video, leave when you want from the video, and that's it. That's my philosophy now. Although I don't know how much of that I'm going to leave in, but anyway, you lot have a fantastic day. Thank you, my 103 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who watched this video, to everyone who's liked and subscribed. Thank you all for listening to me, and I'm going to be here again at some point soon to talk about whatever the hell it is next I want to talk about. But please remember just to love what you do, love your writing, and love your self-expression. And if you want to express yourself all over, go ahead and just do it. Just do it, because at the end of the day, you know, the amount of happiness, joy and inspiration I've had from just doing this is phenomenal. If I didn't have my camera, my tripod, that light, I would just be in my room doing fuck all. You mean a lot to me. So, hug! Peace.